Today on Investigate TV Plus, a man dies in prison for a crime he did not commit, and his family fights to ensure history remembers him as an innocent man.
The first thing that comes to your mind is, how can justice be so heartless, man? Not to stop and say, wait a minute, did this guy do it?
We reveal how the wrongfully accused is being rightfully remembered.
Plus, when seconds mean survival, a new recruit is helping fight fires before they start.
There's a lot of plans and there's a lot of people doing really good work, but there's not a lot of intersection between those folks.
We examine a potential solution to prevent urban wildfires.
Then,
it's your crown, the crown over your head.
wrapped in heritage.
You should be proud of what you have on.
Why these head wraps are much more than a fashion statement.
In-depth stories that inform and inspire. You're watching Investigate TV Plus.
For years during the 70s and 80s, a serial murderer and rapist evaded the police, sending a town in panic. I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm T. Chappelle. Decades later, the impacts of Timothy Kreitcher's attacks remain. Between 1977 and 1982, Kreitcher killed at least 9 women and raped many others.
Angel Ambrose is one of those rape survivors, and she spoke with us in 2018, nearly 40 years after she met who she calls her boogeyman.
What Kreitcher did was out of a movie, out of a horror novel, something that Stephen King would write. He is an evil man. He was a monster. He has always been my monster under the bed.
In 2007, DNA technology connected Kreitcher to those he killed.
But the family of one man argues Kreitcher is responsible for another life, that of Grover Thompson.
He died in prison for a crime he didn't commit, a crime that Kreitcher later confessed to.
Reporter Carly O'Keefe shows us how an innocent man is being rightfully remembered after his death.
Let the church say, Amen.
Voices raise in soulful song.
Amen.
In hopes of healing and finding peace.
For me, it's like full circle, you know, because I felt like God was telling me that I needed, you know, to get closure, you know, put Uncle Grover to rest.
In 1996, Grover Thompson was quietly interred in his final resting place in Chester, Illinois' Evergreen Cemetery. There was no funeral or burial service to honor his memory. In death, as in life, Thompson was confined, his cremated remains crammed in a small plot tightly packed alongside other unclaimed prisoners who died while doing time in Menard Correctional Center.
The Almighty God to take out of this world the soul of Grover Thompson. We therefore commit his body to the ground. Amen? Amen.
This is the first time any of Thompson's family has visited his grave. Likely the first time flowers have been laid upon it. And that's due in no small part to the fact that for decades, most of his family never even knew what happened to the uncle who'd crisscrossed the country visiting family near and far.
We just loved when he came. And then some years went past and we didn't see him. And my brother, my oldest brother, told us that they were saying that he had did something that he did not do.
Thompson's troubles began on Labor Day, 1981. He was on his way back to Mississippi from his sister's home in Milwaukee, but his bus stopped in Mount Vernon, Illinois, and Thompson's travels forever ended there because Mount Vernon police arrested him on charges of attempted murder.
There's such blatant racial discrimination in the way this case developed, and the fact that, oh my gosh, there's a black guy in the post office, he did it, and they went and got him. Along with the just series of abuses by particularly the police and then prosecutors.
It happened as Thompson was seeking shelter from the rain in the town's post office. He'd opted to wait for the next bus, as he told police he didn't like to travel at night. Meanwhile, directly across the street, serial killer and rapist Timothy Kreitcher was lying in wait in the bathroom of a basement apartment and attacked 72-year-old Ida White.
The first thing that comes to your mind is, how can justice be so heartless, man? To stop, not to stop, and say, wait a minute, did this guy do it?
Even with no physical evidence and only faulty witness testimony, a jury handed down a guilty verdict, and Thompson lost his freedom, spending the rest of his life behind bars.
His death was a calamity of errors and circumstances and wrong place, wrong time, and embellishments and lack of, vetting witnesses' stories and all the things that came together that ended in tragedy. And an innocent man went to prison and died in prison for something he absolutely didn't do. And so, his life ended the way he knew it on Labor Day 1981.
In 2007, Kreitcher confessed to the crime, describing Ida White's apartment and the 1981 attack in great detail. Unfortunately, it was far too late to free Thompson. Nevertheless, the Illinois Innocence Project worked to posthumously clear Thompson's name.
This is about justice. This is about making something that was wrong and bad right.
And in 2019, Thompson became the first person in the United States ever to be exonerated after death due to innocence.
And for them to be able to come together and recognize Rover not at his worst, but hopefully at his best, in the sense of him being a free individual in spirit, but certainly declared innocent before the rest of the world.
Well, everyone here wishes Thompson could have walked out of prison free to travel again. His nephew says even in death, his power to unite his family lives on.
It took a long time for him to be exonerated, unfortunately, and it's still a bittersweet. He died an innocent man in prison, but his life has given birth to something great. And that's what's happening now, reuniting as a family.
Labor Day 2026 will mark 45 years since Thompson's arrest. He served 14 years of a 40-year sentence before he passed away. In 2008, in his only media interview ever, Timothy Kreitcher said he'd like the family to know that Thompson was an innocent man. In Cape Girardeau, Missouri, I'm Carly O'Keefe.
Still ahead, for one doctor, an effective mental health treatment doesn't come from modern medicines, but from getting outside.
We have a lot of data and research out there about the psychological effects of being outdoors.
We examine nature's healing properties.
But first,
we want to disconnect the ground from the canopy.
Finding solutions to stop wildfires before they start.
We haven't burned, but it doesn't mean we won't burn.
We reveal the threat to homes across the country and how you can do your part to protect your property.
You can watch Investigate TV Plus anytime online. Just subscribe to our YouTube channel at Investigate TV. You can catch stories and full episodes.
Where dense trees meet urban landscapes comes the potential for disaster in the form of urban wildfires.
They occur in what the U.S. Fire Administration calls the wildland-urban interface, or the space where human development and nature intermingle.
Some of the most destructive fires in the country happened in those areas, including the deadly fires in Lahaina, Hawaii, and Los Angeles, California.
Experts say these types of fires are concerning because they bring a greater risk to public health.
A 2025 study found urban interface fires make up a small fraction of total fire emissions, yet they're responsible for a much larger share of smoke-related premature deaths because of their proximity to where people live.
In one city where backyard meets brush, a new member of the fire department is hoping to stop urban wildfires before they even happen.
Reporter Adrian Thomas shows us how and reveals strategies for families to protect their own properties from fires.
The guidance we generally get is to create a vertical and a horizontal clearance.
Okay.
So we want to disconnect the ground from the canopy.
Northwest Portland resident Nora Gruber lives right in the area of town where Forest Park meets the urban sprawl of the city. also known as the wildland-urban interface by fire officials. She and her neighbors work together throughout the year to educate one another on preparing their home for potential wildfire and partner with city bureaus to clear the forest floor around Lower Maclay Park and other urban forest areas.
We try to get rid of this kind of invasive growth, this vegetative fuel that would connect the canopy from the ground and also the trees from each other. Then we haul it away.
Nearby, we met Gruber's neighbor, Audrey Yu, her home in a quiet, picturesque forested area. But over the years, fire precaution has become an important part of life.
As an individual, you could do your very best to protect against fire, but if the neighbors around you don't, you're just as vulnerable. So it really involves getting all of your neighbors involved and being able to do at least some level of home fire prevention.
Yu says she and others in this community take simple steps to keep their homes safe, such as keeping any vegetation at least 5 feet away from their homes and setting up screens or grates over vents to prevent embers from getting inside should a fire break out nearby. She says other homeowners who live along the wildland-urban interface in Portland can take advantage of free resources if they're unsure where to start.
And we would recommend that people connect with Portland Fire and Rescue and get that home safety fire assessment done, because then it's customized for you.
While Portland Fire and Rescue offers free assessments to people's homes if they choose, the Fire Bureau's new Wildland Strategic Planning Manager, Alan Fitzpatrick's role, consists of improving the entire city's readiness for urban wildfire across the different bureaus and communities along the wildland-urban interface. Fitzpatrick's position is a new role within Portland Fire and Rescue, and he brings years of local and state firefighting experience. What are some things that you have identified from the get-go that need addressing? Things to keep Portland safe if an urban wildfire were to break out?
I think one of the things here in the city that's super interesting is that there's a lot of plans and there's a lot of people doing really good work, but there's not a lot of intersection between those folks.
Past studies have identified multiple areas in the city that could be prone to causing urban wildfires, like in Forest Park and in Pal Butte Nature Park, where we met Fitzpatrick. He says getting other local agencies and community members talking and developing a single strategy is the key to success.
If we're on the same page, we have a good plan, I know what your role is, you know what my role is, we can come together, do that rapid team building in a bad situation, and know what the expectations are. We're not duplicating work when we have limited staff during a tough time.
And the other Portlanders we spoke with say they're eager to work with Fitzpatrick and Portland Fire and Rescue as the risk of urban wildfires becomes more apparent to those living in fire-prone areas.
The culture has to change, and cultures are slow to change, right? It takes decades. I know people who have been living here since the 60s, since the 50s, and they have looked me in the eye and they say, Portland doesn't burn. We haven't burned, but it doesn't mean we won't burn. So we have to be prepared for worst case scenarios.
The U.S. Fire Administration warns more than 60,000 communities are at risk for these fires, and they're not all out west. 3 of the top 5 states with the most homes in the wildland-urban interface are Florida, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania.
Still ahead, centuries of history come alive through one form of fashion.
And I was really excited. I've always wanted to learn how to do head wraps.
We share the meaning behind the folds of fabric.
But first, we meet a doctor who says a prescription to the great outdoors has the potential to heal.
I think these days we see so much time on screens. People are on their phones, children are on tablets all the time.
We reveal why stepping outside, even for just a few minutes, can make a difference in your health.
Our in-depth coverage continues. You can get connected to Investigate TV Plus on all social media platforms. Be honest, how long do you spend online each day?
Am I supposed to tell you?
you probably can't count that high. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, too much.
A 2025 survey of 2,000 adults found the typical American spends more than 10 hours per day on the internet.
Wow. All right, while being online may make us feel more connected to family and friends, there's evidence it could also hurt our health.
Excessive screen time can have physical consequences, including eye and neck strains and poor posture. Studies also link it to psychological issues such as anxiety and depression.
To improve mental health, one doctor believes people should write themselves a prescription for going outside.
Reporter Carrie Beal explains how Mother Nature has the ability to heal.
The view, the sounds, and the creatures. There is something about nature that makes us feel connected.
Well, you know, humans, we really didn't evolve to live in these big structured communities with all the traffic and lights and noise, and our genetic roots are in the outdoors and the surroundings that we see around us right now.
Some may know Prisma Health Emergency Dr. Nathaniel Mann in the setting of a lab coat. But his true calling is as a wilderness medicine physician. He spent 2 years traveling the world, practicing medicine in all kinds of remote environments.
Include altitude illness and diving injuries, outdoor sports related injuries, race medicine, and that's what I did my fellowship in.
In all of his years of medicine, he's found that being outside is one of the most powerful treatments.
Do you think we should be prescribing people be outside more, kind of like we do medicine? Or
I absolutely think we should. I'm personally an advocate for holistic health in a lot of different ways.
That's because of all the benefits he has seen, and it's backed up in literature.
Sunlight is beneficial for your body for vitamin D development and has links to improved cancer rates and decreased infections and a whole host of other medical problems that are directly connected to your interaction with the sun.
Exercising outside can also have physical benefits, but it's our mental health that may need it the most.
We have a lot of data and research out there about the psychological effects of being outdoors.
Research shows it can help ease symptoms of depression, anxiety, ADHD, stress, autism, and much more.
I think these days we see so much time on screens. People are on their phones, children are on tablets all the time, TV, these things, and there are direct links to anxiety and other psychological conditions as a result.
That's why this family says they try to get out every day.
Nature makes me feel happy and excited when I always get around it because it makes me feel home, like I'm at home.
The Tomlinsons are taking part in the SC7 expedition, which is a statewide trek encouraging people to get outside and conserve land.
Getting to watch her see the sun come through the trees and being able to put a shadow on a leaf, the fish glistening in the creek, it just makes you feel wholesome.
These hikers say it's tranquility you can't quite get anywhere else. Sometimes the biggest challenge is making the time for it.
It doesn't have to be a hike 7 miles in the woods. We know that based on literature and data that even just 10 or 15 minutes outdoors working in your garden or mowing your lawn or spending time on your back porch can equally yield significant benefits.
One nonprofit helps some students have their first experience with nature. Gateway to the Great Outdoors partners with schools in Chicago and St. Louis, Missouri to offer the ultimate camping experience.
Just let you figure out many different things that you haven't usually done.
The organization has participated in a number of studies and research on the health benefits of time in nature. One study found 97% of students who participated reported improvements in their physical, mental, and emotional health.
Still ahead.
When you have your head wrap on, it's like the icing on the cake.
One woman shares a style rooted in heritage.
It looks so regal and just beautiful, and I've always wanted to learn how to do it.
We unravel the history and legacy behind African head wraps.
You can watch Investigate TV Plus anytime streaming online. Get the app for Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. It's free to download.
Their stories rooted in trauma and triumph.
One place chronicling the history of African Americans in our country is in Charleston, South Carolina, at the International African American Museum.
In addition to 12 exhibits, the museum hosts workshops to help educate visitors on aspects of African and African American culture.
Reporter Shelby Roberts takes us to a workshop where women are embracing their roots.
These layers of fabric
We have the pre-made ones.
meet layers of history,
You're gonna make a bowl with the two hands.
all in a head wrap.
It's something I dream of learning. Just like a child grows up and learns to walk, It's the same way. Growing up to see people around me having their head wraps, and that's how I learned.
For Olubukola Alulere, head wrapping is a part of heritage. She learned it while growing up in Lagos, Nigeria, as part of the Yoruba tribe. Here, she's partnering with the International African American Museum to teach the craft to others. Others, like LaShawn Johnson from Graniteville.
And I was really excited. I've always wanted to learn how to do head wraps.
It's her family's first time visiting the International African American Museum.
It's the history behind it, and then when I see people wear head wraps, it looks so regal and just beautiful, and I've always wanted to learn how to do it.
The art of head wrapping dates back centuries in communities across the globe, particularly in Western Africa. These ornate pieces have historically served different purposes for both the women and men who wear them. Protection from the outdoor elements, a cultural symbol of identity, a requirement for some enslaved women during the era of racial slavery, and today a symbol of pride for many people of African descent.
When you have your head wrap on, it's like the icing on the cake. You should be proud of what you have on. Be the creative person and walk with pride.
Pride in knowing there's no one way to wear it.
It's your crown, the crown over your head. So when you have it on, it don't matter if it didn't look like what you were trying to replicate, but the fact that you did it yourself or you have it on your head, then walk with it with pride and confidence.
Those head wraps were so intricate and beautiful, and the colors. Some of them looked really complicated.
Seriously, to put those on, but I love the message,
Yeah.
walk with confidence no matter what, right?
The icing on the cake,
Icing
she
on the cake,
called
I
it.
like that, it's
Yes.
good, yes.
Well, that's it for us on Investigate TV Plus. I'm Tisha Powell.
And I'm Lee Zurich, thanks for watching. On the next Investigate TV Plus, what would you pay to not have to wait in line for something you really wanted?
People pay between $30 and $40 an hour.
From Supreme Court hearings to trendy restaurant openings, see how professional line standers are making a living by holding your spot.
People who don't have to wait look down on the people who are waiting, the haves and the have-nots.
And why not everyone thinks it's a good idea.